Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good. Thanks for coming. And we're into our 100 days of intentions. We began on a Sunday, about 100 days before the election. We felt it was a significant time, significant enough to to enlist our better forces, what we know how to do. A little learning, some intentioning. My sacred partner is preoccupied this morning. We're using several texts. We're using our text of Lutzato, Mesilat Yesharim, Moshe Chaim Lutzato, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato, Mesilat Yesharim, and we're using my recent book, most recent book, Vigil. The fourth one's almost done. Vigil. This is me. And I was playing a little music and intentioning ourselves for good. Heal my hurts, oh dependable God. For you are an artful healer. You are an artful healer. Love that. Let's go to a text. I'm going to continue telling you about a little bit about Moshe Chaim Lutzato, whose text we're working out of. One year I wintered in Venice. My routine took me into the ghetto daily. The second week there, I noticed a building with the name Lutzato on it. This is the school of the Lutzato family, my companion told me. The Lutzatos, the proudest and not the proudest chapter of Venetian history. My companion opened the story for me one day as we crossed the bridge, if you've been there, into the ghetto. And Moshe Chaim Lutzato was the most famous of the family, I guess you'd say. He was born in Padova, near Venice in 1707, the site of the old university. It was founded in 1222, think about that. Broken off from the University of Bologna, a university without Catholic constraints, center of intellectual inquiry. Galileo and Copernicus taught there. Hello. The Luzzato family, whose descendants, they trace their origins back to an immigrant who migrated to Italy from Germany, the province of Lausitz. Luzzato, a corruption of that place name. Yeah. And there's some evidence about this. The prayer rite of the Scola Luzzato in Venice retained the German rite of Jewish prayers. I've heard it. So Moshe Chaim's father, Luzzato's father, was a merchant, Jacob Luzzato, wealthy, who tutored his son faithfully in Latin and other classical languages. When he was 13, Moshe Chaim Luzzato, he entered the school of Isaiah Bassani. He began a relationship with his teacher Bassani that would last his entire life. Bassani was also known as Yeshaya Bassan, whose father-in-law was Binyamin Kohen, student of Rabbi Moshe Zakuto, all of them, these famous masters of Kabbalah. And it was in the library of Bassani that Luzzato first familiarized himself with Kabbalistic notions. He memorized all the writings of the Holy Ari by 14. And it began his lifelong fascination with what we call chen, chokhmah nisteret, secret teachings, hidden teachings. He was mevakshe Hashem. He was one of them, seekers of godliness. Their purpose was the tikkun shechina, the repair, mostly through constant study of Zohar, classic text of Jewish mysticism. So Bassani moved to Reggio, and Luzzato began to teach the works of the Holy Ari. And Luzzato studied Hebrew poetry and prosody, and he began composing poems in classical Hebrew before he was 20. He wrote elegies. At 20, he was working on a book of the Psalms, a Psalter, based on the classical book of the Psalms. He composed 150 ones in the style of the psalmist. Oh my God. And his creations were true to the style of the Psalms. So his teachers criticized him for this kind of immodest creativity. Excuse me. Only two of his poems exist for certain that were once included in Luzzato's Book of Psalms. He wrote elegies, dramas, poetry, theoretical tracts on the nature of Hebrew poetry. He printed a book in Mantua in 1727, dedicated to his teacher Bassani, that was original and lean and faithful to its classical Hebrew influences. His style was honest and true to the biblical sources that inspired him. But it was partially this genius and partially his fascination with Kabbalah that put him into conflict with his community. And from his youth, he was accompanied by a Magid, a spirit that communicated with him, disclosing hidden wisdom from the prophet Elijah, from the ancestors, from the Prince of Angels, Metatron. He wrote in the voices of those who spoke through him. Yeah. He wrote a Kabbalistic commentary on the Torah in the style of the Zohar. Yeah. He kept his writings private in his native Padova. He only acquired 2 students there who knew his teachings. And then a well-known scholar came to Padova, and was shown his writings. And yeah, so this guy, Kimchi, he brought word back to Venice, what Luzzato was doing, and soon Luzzato had a school full of students. But the memory of, the false messiahs, Shabtai Tzvi, etc., was still fresh. So all these things were suspicious. So some other people attacked him, his reputation, his complaints about him. Oh my God. So he he had to move, you know. And they tried to distance themselves from Luzzato. And, he kept writing. He married the daughter of a rabbi in Mantua. He went into business with his relatives, etc. But the rabbis of Venice denounced him, so he felt compelled to leave Italy. He had been abandoned by everyone except his teacher Bassani. Where did he go? He went to Amsterdam. And on the way to Amsterdam, he was further humiliated in Frankfurt. He had to sign a pledge not to return to the study of secret traditions, not to write, not to publish, until he reached the age of 40, and only in the Holy Land. And he surrendered his works and all this stuff. Humiliating. But he was welcomed into Amsterdam, and the Sephardic community offered him a position. But he preferred to support himself independently, so he made his living like Spinoza, grinding lenses, took on private students, etc. Yeah. He lived quietly in Amsterdam for 10 years. And that's where he wrote many of his best known works, especially this one that was taken from Mesilat Yesharim, the path of the straight ahead or the just. He wrote this, we think, in Amsterdam. He was nearing 40, and he felt drawn to come to Israel. And he made the long and difficult trip with his wife and son. He arrived in Sfat in 1747. And they all contracted plague. And he died in Akko, May 6, 1747. He was buried in Tiberias, near Rabbi Akiva. I am always with you, he told his students, and he was never abandoned by his teacher, Basami. So in his book, what's interesting about his book is he talks about not only these steps of internal development of intentioning and building character from within, but he also, and we starts with attentiveness. You got to listen carefully, be attentive, and then catch fire for learning. Be eager. He also goes through what inhibits these seems obvious responses, and one is preoccupation with worldly affairs. You know, yeah. Tipul, matters of the world. Second is to be too light. You're not going deep enough. And the third thing is you got to hang with the right people. The wrong people will bring you down. Mm-hmm. Very interesting guy. The Ramchal is a transitional figure. He stood on the shoulders of the poets, Ibn Gabirol and the others. Also, science and Kabbalah. He stood in the line of Bar Yochai, the voice of the Zohar, Ibn Gabirol, the Holy Ari, if you know these names, the Vilna Gaon, the Baal Shem Tov, these names. The voices of the Enlightenment, too. He taught knowledge, and also the natural knowledge both of body and of godliness, of spirit and of flesh. And he taught that the new old splendor will disturb convention. It's a higher light, he taught. Yes, and that untruth, there are forces that are trying to confuse. Don't be confused. Glue yourself to the true, the real. It's not so difficult. But the obscurantists will try to deceive. These are the things that he taught. Interesting person. Interesting writer. Let's see who I'm seeing here. Oh, there's Nancy. I can see Nancy. Who else am I seeing? Oh, I see. Yeah, there's Diane. Loyal Diane. Good for you. I see Paul this morning. Paul, it's a nice hat you're wearing. Yeah. So let me read a piece from, we're also in the 7 weeks of consolation we pick up after Tisha B'Av. We start to move on the gentle arc, the ascending arc towards the days of awe. It begins right after Tisha B'Av. And for 7 weeks thereafter, we read messages of consolation brought to us by our beloved Isaiah Hanavi. I sat with Isaiah's words of consolation for some years. I let them filter themselves through me. And I used his language, I used his imagery to bring the essence of consolation of his messages. And I put them in my first book, Espaklaria, is a mirror, sometimes cloudy, sometimes clear. I'm going to read the first 3. We're in the 3rd week. And I may jump to the 4th one too, an expectation of next week. Consolation 1, comfort, be comforted. Listen, intention to offer and serve, wilderness a plain, every valley a high place. All flesh see together grass and flowers. Speak to the mountains. Lift up your voice from low places. Foundations know and hear. Lift up your eyes. Plant your feet. Give yourself a name. Give everything a name. You notice in this verse that prayer goes well with Lutzato. It starts with listen. Listen. That's Luzzato's first step. Attentiveness, listening. Also, there's in the early passages from Isaiah, there's this speaking from a low place. Lift up the low place. Lift, always lift. Foundations, lift. Consolation 2, little babies. You abandoned me. You've forgotten me. A mother does not forget her child. You came out of my womb. I could not forget you. Engrave psalms on your hands. Build me into a fence. Whatever pursues will depart. Lift up your eyes alive. Clothe yourself with ornaments, your narrows too small for you. Be a bride. Consolation 3, toasted, afflicted, all the children taught peace. Gemstones, rubies, sapphires, I have created a peace smithy, peace within righteousness. Give up your fear, pound out in coals, 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 a soul. Come together, your words, fire. Come close. A reward no one will gather against you. Eat and drink and be satisfied. Well, let's jump to the 4th one. Comforting you, who are you? What do you fear? Remember foundations, heavens above, earth beneath your feet. Lift up your hands and plant. Love that. Lift up your hands and plant. The waves roar a name. I put words in your mouth, shadow of my hand planted above. Lift up your eyes to earth. Lift up your eyes. to earth. I love this imagery. I sat with it for many years, letting it filter out Isaiah's images. So thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate you. Did I tell you? I appreciate you. Let's see who's out there. Oh, there's Karen. Yeah, it's a nice outfit. So thank you for being here this morning. And remember, we're in 100 days of intentions. We're into the 60s now. And we're here every morning around 9:30 our time. But you can pick it up anytime during the day. It stays on for a while. And we're not here on Shabbat. But other than that, join us. An intention a day. Heal my hurts. Oh, faithful, oh, dependable God. For you are an artful healer. Great language. See you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow, little babies.